But that's actually not, not for want of action on so many people that we've talked about on the show before, be it like Black Youth Project, be it Assata's Daughters, the Black Lives Matter in Chicago, who are frankly just doing some of the most ballsy, awesome activism against Anita Alvarez. They're following her everywhere. Like everywhere Anita Alvarez is showing up, they are like there. Like she was at some like Irish bar and they like did this blockade outside this Irish bar. Talk about some of these young activists. Because again, it's easy to get down when we look at the kind of the big picture. But again, what you posted again and again, when you look at some of these young people, there actually is some reason for hope when you see how much how badass some of these young people actually are.
Yeah, I think it's really, so yes, you're absolutely right that there's been really organized resistance against Anita Alvarez in particular, and it's been really heartening to see. And I think one of the ways that you can understand the resistance is both, again, yes, the Laquan McDonald cover-up of the tape kind of energize a new crew and a new generation of people to understand, like, what is the role of the state's attorney, and to also understand how much power the chief prosecutor has, right?
Yeah.
And how much control they have over, frankly, mass incarceration and doing something about it, much more so than the president does, for example. And so, as a result, a lot of the young people who've been organizing a lot under the banner, the kind of large banner of Black Lives Mattering, or the movement for Black Lives or Black Liberation struggle, have taken to basically protesting and doing actions against Anita Alvarez. So they have gone to her talks that she's given, one talk at University of Chicago, and a group of young Black queer organizers supported by allies disrupted that particular talk. They followed her to an event that she had, which was a breakfast where she was being, quote, honored, and disrupted that at 7 o'clock in the morning. They followed her to one of the talks or the kind of community forums, that candidate forums that was happening around violence against women and girls and gender nonconforming people, and basically disrupted that and made sure to let people know about the stories of the survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault that Anita Alvarez has actually prosecuted. They did go all the way to Oak Lawn to a fundraiser that she was doing at some bar somewhere and, blockaded the door, yelled, sang songs, made sure that people knew they were out there and talking about why Anita Alvarez must go. And while that's going on in terms of the kind of community protests, there's also been these organized opportunities. I led, along with a friend of mine, along with my friend Jim Gendersky, I led a teach-in at our local library in Rogers Park about Anita Alvarez and invited then people a couple of Saturdays ago to go out into the community and to hand out literature and discuss and talk with people about why this state's attorney's race mattered and why Anita needed to go. There's been other such community-based, community-focused grassroots teach-ins and canvases. BYP 100 last weekend did a canvas with people this past weekend to again educate people about the race and explain the stakes and inform people and encourage them to vote. So what I also appreciate about these actions is that they've been very much separate from separate from the work that's being done by the campaigns. Mm-hmm. People aren't. This is not being organized by Donna Moore's people or Kim Fox's people.
Right.
This is being organized in an organic grassroots way by people getting engaged and moving forward. And the last thing I'll say is this is important because, at least for me, to say to people, prosecutors, I would like, I'm an abolitionist. I want the end of prisons, policing, surveillance. I want the creation and building of a new set of institutions and a new whole society that does not need those things. And part of that means getting rid of these prosecutors, too, right? Like not having prosecutors. And so I'm not out here, basically pushing for one particular candidate to win because I know for sure I know people who are, and that's good. But I know for sure that no matter who wins, the next day I'll be protesting that person, right? Because no matter how progressive the particular prosecutor is that is going to be at the head of the, of Cook County in a few days, not a few days, sorry, in a few months, right? Because if Anita Alvarez loses, it's a primary, then there's a general election. But as I mentioned to you earlier, since Chicago and Cook County are Democrat strongholds in terms of power, the person who's elected on March 15th will become the next prosecutor, right? And we don't have a credible Republican challenge. And so, it's really important to think about, like, what are these roles? What do we want from prosecutors? We need these prosecuting, attorneys to be much more transparent. We need to be pushing for total data transparency in these offices. Right now, they can do what they want, how they want it, and then deny you FOIAs for a million days, not provide information. We have to press them on that. We have to ask and press on, what are you going to do to end mass incarceration in your county? Well, how are you going to contribute to that? You have to be able to answer these questions, right? And we have to be keeping the pressure up on whoever is in that role. And I hope that because these grassroots, indigenous kinds of resistances are popping up around this office, that the next person who comes in, hopefully whoever that is going to be under a sense of pressure they've never had before, by a new, energized, newly radical, radicalized, and a new kind of focus on this particular office.